Welcome to the Red, White News Show with Dean McMurray, the military medium.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another great episode of the Red, White, and You Show with the military medium. Well, folks, I have a returning guest with me, Dr. Rob Garcia, the Warrior Strategist. If you remember right, Dr. Rob comes at us from San Diego and area, but he is a veteran. He is somebody that has struggled with adversity throughout his life, but came back swinging and has made lemonade out of lemons, per se. But Rob, welcome to the Red, White, and You Show, man.
Hey, Dean, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, and it's a double honor to come back.
Hey, I appreciate it. You're a busy guy, and it's I'm glad that it worked out with your schedule. So take us, for those maybe that don't know who Robert Garcia is, could you share with that? And one of the things I want to share before you begin is I was really always inspired personally and also professionally by the fact that you didn't grow up in a land of candy canes and gumdrops. It wasn't always easy for you. And what, every inch or mile that you've gained thus far in your adult life has been through hard work and adversity. And so first off, kudos to you. And, I love what you're doing. But if you could with the listeners, share who you are.
Yeah. As you alluded to, I grew up in a small logging town, and a lot of drug abuse and a lot of alcoholism in my family, and some criminals, some legit, going to prisons and jails to visit relatives, things like that. I had some trouble with education in my early years because of a learning disability, and failed out of high school and 2 colleges by 19. And so joined the military at 21, and it was my first chance at discipline and structure. And so after I did my enlistment, started really getting into higher education. I ended up earning 6 degrees, finishing a doctorate in education, started a magazine, and then just began doing business consulting, which is where I'm at today.
Well, let's back that train up a little bit, because I want to talk about a little bit about your education first. Is you talk about struggling with the learning disability and also just having a tough time with the structured education system in general, whether it be college or school. But you went on to get your doctorate. You went on to get degrees. How do you go from there to there? How did you, what was it, a wing and a prayer? Did you make a pact with the devil? What, how do you go from there to there? It's like, that's from 0 to 100 and seems like 30 seconds, but I know it's longer than that.
Yeah. It's almost the number one question I get, because it is such a juxtaposition in terms. Honestly, I had to take an honest look at myself in my 20s and how I was learning things. And I self-isolated. I figured out, okay, this is where I lose my focus, and this is where I can, intensely figure out my focus. And so I figured out a lot of speed learning techniques. I'm a big fan of autodidactic learning, which just means self-taught, like Edison, Ford, a lot of people who weren't great classroom scholars, but high aptitude. And so I figured out that the classroom wasn't really the place for me, because I start drowning out and I start tuning out in about 10 minutes if the subject matter isn't fun. And I also figured out that hyper learning occurred for me when I'd use diagrams, colors, and I worked with my hands, kinesthetic, tactile, sensory interaction. And so that's why I went into entrepreneurship, and that's why I was able to get all these things done, because I just got into speed learning and teaching myself how to do things. And so this is the main difference, to answer your question without going on a crazy tangent, is earlier on when I was failing, it was mostly because I couldn't focus in a math classroom. Okay, I was studying electronic engineering and all this stuff, and I just couldn't focus on physics and math being delivered in a classroom. As I got into graduate school and I got into my doctoral program, I picked subjects that were a little bit more general, so business and education. So the commitment to math wasn't as great. And so the subject I learned were a lot more reading intensive and a lot more self-study, believe it or not. Because when you get to the master's level and the doctorate level, you're not in a classroom as much. A lot of it is just self-directed research. And then that's when Rob gets the knife in his teeth, the bayonet, and he just can go for it, because I'm not sitting in a classroom listening to somebody and just losing all my focus. So that was really what kind of helped me to succeed.
Well, I think that's an important point to bring up, though, and I kind of knew that, but I wanted you to elaborate on that, because for those maybe haven't heard your story, I think it's important, because even if maybe they're struggling currently in a certain level of college or high school or whatever, and saying, there is a way, there is a route for you. You just got to figure out. And what impresses me is that some way, somehow, you self-analyzed. I think that's the word that you use. Self-analyze yourself, saying, you know what, I don't learn best about this, but you know what, I've done enough to figure out I work better over here in this aspect, and let's go 100 miles an hour over here. Let's change lanes and go that route. And I think that's awesome, because most people will just sit there mired in their own stuff.
Yeah, it's I think what would benefit anybody is figuring out what type of learner they are. So if you're a visual learner, watch videos on YouTube. If you're an auditory learner, listen to podcasts. If you're a kinesthetic, like hands-on type person, then practice creating things that you're trying to learn, full on. Like I taught myself how to make a magazine, but I had to do it all myself. I had to immerse myself into it. And so one of the books I wrote was on speed learning, the last one, and I isolated like 16 techniques for speed learning something, if you're like me, an asymmetrical learner. And so creation's one of them, repetition, if you're trying to learn an instrument, diagramming, getting a mentor, research. So all these different ways are ways that a creative person can learn things without having to deal with school or college.
Absolutely. I think that's just powerful. So take us forward to that. You figured out, the platform in which you best learned. You get these degrees, and now you kind of, in the beginning, if I remember correctly, kind of struggled starting out, wasn't it? Had some challenges, and then borns into triumph. Can you take us into that journey a little bit?
Yeah, I've had about 4 dips on the entrepreneurial roller coaster, and I just had a few of them flash back as you were telling me that, which is great, because it's important that we share these things so the listener understands, hey, you're not alone if you've tried something and not had the best results.
Right.
So my latest crash was 2018. And I had come back from the Middle East. I lost my mother halfway through to cancer. And then I had a crazy month, Dean. October, November timeframe. I literally went from speaking on stage at a Mark Cuban event to having a full sleep-deprived nervous breakdown where I quit my job, drove to a park and cried next to a tree and called a hotline. And then the very next day, my apartment opened up, my dream apartment I live in now in San Diego. But even 2-3 years ago, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. Like, I still go through some stuff, but things are much, much better now. And so the takeaway from this for the listener is, when you do hit those points, those low points where you're having some kind of a crisis, make sure that you're turning to your network for help. Understand that bad things happen to all of us, but you should never give up, and you should never be at the point where anything is going to take you out of your passion. Even with those things against me, I rallied back you know, 2019 was actually a very strong year. And then even 2020, when COVID decimated businesses, November 2020 was the highest grossing month I ever had in business. But it was because I had these systems and these frameworks set up, which will probably transition us into the next subject.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, talking about all that, I do remember, I think you talking about that back in 2018. If nobody knows or has followed Rob, he's very transparent. And that's one of the things, like, you share a lot with everybody. You're very open and transparent and very giving with information. You know, and obviously we're very happy that you decided to stick around, you know, and grace us with your presence. But not only that, is that, you know, found your way through all of this. And I understandably, we're all dealing with something, right? And sometimes life is harder than others. And we're all going to deal with shit at some point in our life. And it's just, like, great words to live by is turn to your network, which is great words. So, you know, you have several. I'm on your website here, and just looking at your different. Sorry, I'm just transitioning around, but kind of going back to just all the training on your website. You got everything from free training, you know, tactical CEQ coaching program, you know, but your newest one, which is really, well, before we get there, because I want to talk about your newest piece, but you're a how do we want to say it? A multi-book author. How many books do you got now to your name? 8. And some of those were like pumped out like super quick. A lot. How many ebooks, if you could break it down, how many ebooks in print?
I'd say at least 25 ebooks at this point, and then 8 paperbacks in a magazine.
Good Lord, man. All right. That's awesome. So, you know, it's, you have been, would it be safe to say, is in your quest to figure out answers for Rob, so comes the, you know, these books and ebooks and these different programs and products?
Yeah, a lot of them out of response to different things in my life.
Sure.
I mean, at the time, you know, I was, when I wrote the speed learning book, which is the latest one, it's called The Next Level Supercharged. I wrote that in response to, you know, life. And I thought, if I'm going through this, you know, other people must be going through stuff with ADD and dyslexia and all these different things and you know, dropping out of school. So why not write a book to help them? One of my earlier books, Utopia, I wrote because I wanted people to understand how to go to college for free, or how to find tech jobs, or how to, you know, create the life that you deserve. Utopia was written in 6 hours. Literally. Wow. From idea to publish, and it's like 57 books. So that was my record, publishing a book in a time frame, and I have a speed learning process for that too.
I love it. Well, I think that really segues really well into your latest, you know, your latest piece of work, which is the design your paycheck, or DY, you call it the DYC or the DYP. Sorry. Yeah. What the hell am I thinking, Dean? DYC. Anyways, maybe I got some dyslexia going on. But one of the things is, and I got to preface this by saying, is one of the things that you posted, I know you tagged me in it, was talking about the number. I believe you talked about the number, the quintessential number that everybody has over their head, and talking about their value or worth. And then also really, like, you should be getting paid for what you do. So I think one of the things that you tagged me in was an article on, or something that you did on podcasts. Everybody and their brother now is doing a podcast. Seems like, a neighbor's kid is doing it. It's like anybody and everybody. But if it's something that you take serious, why not get paid for it? The same with anything else, right? So take us a little bit through. I love this aspect because I'm a big believer in that we have a blank check above our head and we're always ourselves filling in the amount we believe that we're worth. But take us into the little bit about the design your paycheck.
Well, I made it, first of all, it's a group membership site. And so I created it. I had to do one rebrand, and I got a bunch of people together, and I thought, okay, what business techniques can I teach this group of people? And then that would help them to really expand on their worth. And because all these people are doing these great things, and there's a lot of people that have skill sets that they've never monetized and all that stuff. My job is to make them a paycheck. And a lot of times, Dean, they just need confidence. They just need somebody to say, hey, you can do this. I believe in you. I did it, and this is how I did it, and I'm going to support you as you go through this. And so I created this group, started catching some steam, and then Design Your Paycheck in its current iteration has been around for about a year and a half now. Every week, I teach a new income stream or a new strategy to expand on an income stream. So, for example, with podcasts, the most popular training I've been giving is how to monetize podcasts. And there's like 8 or 9 ways that people don't even think of. And I'll actually throw out some free stuff here for you guys. But essentially, if you're an expert at something, you should be turning it into courses, ebooks, and consulting calls. Those are your first 3. Once you've got those products ready to go, then you should start advertising them and letting people know, what you've got. Then you should start a membership site. And after that, a broadcast platform. You don't want to do this all at once, space it out, but all of these have advantages. And then once you have, each of them has like a different tool, comes together like Voltron.
Of the universe comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe.
Well, hang on. Did you just make a reference to Voltron?
I absolutely did. Any person over 40 is going to get that.
I just had to bring that out. I love it.
And I'm talking the real Voltron with the lions, not 50 micro cars coming together.
Oh, the lion one. Okay.
Of course. There's only one Voltron, Dean. I don't care what the cartoon says. Anywho, good catch. So after they've got the 3 services done, I always tell them to make a membership site so they have recurring revenue. So now they can sell courses, ebooks, consulting calls, very little work. All of these are free to make, by the way. And then they just have to set up a private Facebook group, and now they've got a paid membership site. They just have to figure out what it's going to be about. Once that's done, then a media platform. So magazine, podcast, blog, YouTube show, Facebook Lives, whatever. Now here's where the media stuff comes in and why it's last and why it's advantageous. So when you start a podcast or a magazine or a blog, you gain some superpowers. You're like one of the X-Men now, because guess what? You can cross-negotiate media interviews, which is awesome. You can interview celebrities. You can make merchandise related to your brand, whatever it is that you're going to do. So your podcast, you can throw shirts or stickers, whatever. And then you can start charging for advertising and sponsors. So there's all these different ways you can make income streams through your work. And this is the natural progression. And after a while, you get to quit your job. That's how it works.
Right. I love it. Well, and this is what I love about you, Rob, is like even listening, and I pulled up, I have it on my phone here. And for those that don't know, like I've been following Rob for, it's been 3-4 years. I was stalking Rob probably back quite a number of years ago. And because he was talking about media interviews, this back when you were on your Become Seen basically platform, Rob. And one of the things I was like, what is this guy Rob talking about? Who is this guy? And really talking about working with, and I started watching your YouTube videos and other things. Facebook Live wasn't as big at that time, but was starting to catch on. And one of the things I was like, because I was trying to be seen. That's why. And I reversed engineered, basically, I call it, and kind of put your words as a template over what I provide. And I was like, how can I kind of use what this guy is talking about in my industry? And I just got to tell you folks, from going from zero to I think it was in that 1 year, I had done 30 plus podcasts, / radio spots, been asked to write the back of a book, featured in magazines, newspapers, front page, and of course also on local and regional news. And so what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to lend credence to invalidation to what Rob is saying works. And all you have to do, though, and this is the big one, is you got to take action in some way. You can't just sit and listen to Rob's words. And Rob, I'm going to, I really hate to assume anything, but that's going to be the same with Design Your Paycheck. I could listen to all the great advice in the world, but it's not going to do me any work, and be like, I could complain anybody's advice is not going to work if I don't take any action, correct?
Yeah, and if you've seen my logo, Dean, it's rifles and chess pieces on a crest, and that's what the Warrior Strategist is about. The two military phases of planning and execution. So the planning is the training, watching videos, learning. The execution, though, is vital. You have to take action. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and take those steps and sink or swim.
Well, let's talk about that action piece, Rob, because so many people get into the analysis paralysis. I know I've been there myself, because I'm one of those, the military logical mind, right? I got to know the details to execute the plan. And a lot of times my wife is there kicking me in the ass going, just do it. Like the do it now. So, what would you say to those folks that, easily slip into the analysis paralysis right before either execution?
I've gotten there too, Dean, and this happens when you have too many processes going on at once as well. You kind of, or if you're a very, very analytical thinker. And what you have to remember is, hey, if you want those results, you've got to finish the deliverable. So start off with the end in mind. What's your specific to the micro level goal, like what you want to achieve, and write them out. I incorporate some Napoleon Hill stuff in my training, but like around my apartment, there are literal dry erase boards that tell me how much money I'm going to make this month, and then who my clients are, and then what my goals are, and then every single day, I've got a daily planner. My entire week is planned out, and then my appointments, your name's on here actually. And so by doing this, it keeps me from getting into analysis paralysis where I'm actually getting stuff done.
Got it. Keeps you focused and keeps you on track.
Yep. Every Sunday and Monday, I work on planning and strategy.
Nice.
Every other day is execution.
Nice. Well, and the other thing that I love too, Rob, is you talked about earlier in your struggle, you talked about your network, but I want to talk about the reverse aspect of when business is booming or when you're doing well. And one of the things is when you were kind of still building your network, so to speak, and folks like, if I threw out a name like Abby and a few others, when you were working with either Vision or the Napoleon Hill, you brought that piece up, like, the law of attraction, different aspects of that might be a little bit pushing the envelopes of what some people believe, maybe more in the metaphysical or the sixth sense of things. even though Napoleon Hill certainly talks about it and everything else. But without getting into the weeds on that aspect, what I want to share is what I think was so cool to see is the people within your network, you included, through these years, watching each of you grow in your own way and going off. Like you talked about hitting success and getting your dream apartment when housing is so ridiculously expensive, right? You're at the point where you can afford that. And still be able to eat, right? It's not, it's not a Connex out on somebody's parking lot. Folks like Abby, she's, off doing great and wondrous things as well. And just the other people that were kind of in that same network, all the other names just off the top of my head are escaping me. But what I'm sharing is that it's, again, lending credence and validation back to, you can grow together. And your network certainly helps you do that.
I think you hit upon a very smart point, Dean. I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. I had to do a massive pivot like 4 years ago because I was completely just out for myself. And this is the biggest lesson I can give to any listener right now, double for veterans. You have to promote other people, you have to build a network, and you have to come at a place of a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what I really attribute a lot of my successes to, is just because I put in hours and hours promoting other people, the right people. And you're right, watching them grow has been amazing, and giving them the tools they need, and then, turning to them when I need to for, raising money for something or helping people out. But you have to take care of your network for sure. It's just like the military. You have a team, watch them grow.
Absolutely. Well, and that was a great segue as well, Rob. Thanks for bringing that up, is, talking about how and I wanted to kind of convey that, is how you always, it's not sometimes, it's not like on Tuesdays at 3, you're always promoting others before yourself. It's like, yeah, you got your ebooks and your books, and you talk about them and your programs, but you're always, in fact, when you do your lives or whatever, you actually got people's websites and stuff streaming across the stream. You got things about, hey, get yourself this damn chopping board from so-and-so. I mean, just the crazy stuff, right? That is, and really, I think that's, just speaks, number one, to who you are. But I think that was great to hear you say that you figured it out. Saying, you know what, because like the military, we're only as strong as our, they always say we're always strong as our weakest link, but at the same time, we're stronger together. And so as we grow together, we can lean on each other. And then obviously, is it good for business? Absolutely, right?
Yeah. And I've, Success Engineers, my Facebook group has really, really become powerful in its applications. Last year we raised, or about a year and a half ago, we raised $2,500 and we got a homeless veteran out of a shelter and into an apartment and got his Social Security going. So now he's doing good. But that's the real beauty of having a strong network, is that you can turn to them and use your powers for good and help the community when you need to.
Well, what's kind of funny is, before I even knew him, we're building this network and people just show up. Hey, what's this guy out in California doing? And they just join your Facebook, social media group, whether they were kind of veterans or not. They were just entrepreneurs. They start getting everybody that was showing up. Well, here to find out, my buddy, Patrick Kirby, who lives in my same city, state. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it's like, what? You're from where? And making the connection through San Diego, it's like a backwards airline connection, right? And next thing you know, here I am, a keynote speaker at his Do Good Better conference. And the different things, the beautiful thing is, as well, is the connection and network you talked about was, I saw your post about the the Golden Wing mobile homes, right?
Yeah.
With Nicholas and his mom and the whole family. I mean, just a cool story about helping out the homeless veteran and the whole family, and what you put out the call. And I was like, oh my God, this is just such, and you know what's so crazy, Rob, and I got to talk about them just for a second, is there was like a can of worms. It was a good can of worms though, that was waiting off in the wings. Like I didn't even know there was this whole story about adversity with the whole family. And I was like, whoa, there's more here. Like, whoa, this is crazy. And I guess what I'm sharing is this is the power of network. Yeah. This is the power of community. And when like-minded individuals and heart-centered people come together, I mean, I hear crazy stuff being posted in that group like all the time. People are in need. They post it. Boom. Somebody's in the area. Hey, can anybody help out so-and-so in this area? Boom. It's done. It's like, it's just crazy. And did you ever fathom that it would take on this life of, as it has?
No. I knew that some people would step up, and I was super proud of them. And even if I got one or two people that would step up and help tell Nicholas's story, that would be amazing. For the listeners that don't know, Nicholas and his family are Polish immigrants that came to Chicago and just started a company renovating mobile homes. And they donated one completely free to a veteran, a disabled veteran. And so that's how they got on my radar. A friend of mine told me their story. So I wrote 2 Facebook posts about them and got them 10 interviews. It got a little out of hand.
Well, sometimes that's a good problem to have, though. And, what's a beautiful thing is, like I said, when you start building this powerful network like you have, Rob, you just threw it out there. You didn't, hey, let's start this community and maybe it'll help in some way. And then all of a sudden you didn't really realize maybe at what level it, like we talk about Nicholas and his family, just the tremendous stuff that he's doing. But there's other folks like Nicholas out there and his family that are doing beautiful things. And I know you could go on with stories of that. But what are something, let me ask you, you've been doing this for a while. What is a story, if you could share maybe a story time with us, but something that really moved you, like really emotionally, like touched you and be like, oh my God, there's still beautiful, and I know you get them all day, but there's still beautiful people out there.
Yeah, it's actually current. What a great question, first of all. I found out through a friend of mine that a mutual veteran friend named Josh David Smith has been dedicating the last few weeks to going on Costco runs and buying pallets of food and water and giving them out to people that are displaced by Texas weather. And he's got a friend of his, Quentin, and both of them together have been just taking care of a lot of people. And so I decided today, after I heard about a lot of this, that I'm not only going to donate, but me and Ryan Hunt from Mountain Up, Ryan's already, I sent him a message this morning, and you're going to love this, Dean. I sent him a message this morning just telling him about what Josh is doing and hey, let's join forces and, help these guys out and do some fundraising. And within 6 hours, Ryan had a custom sticker made and a jacket for fundraising and a bunch of other products from Mountain Up. I mean, this guy's an Army field grade officer. He's getting after it. And so I came up with 2 hashtags, hashtag Save Texas, hashtag Texas Freeze. Actually, Ryan came up with that one. And so we're going to combine forces in the next couple of days. We're going to do some massive fundraising efforts. And I want to give, I want to raise a couple $1,000s for Josh and what he's doing, because he's out there just doing these amazing things and nobody knows about this. These veterans are on the ground selflessly, working hundreds of hours, like making sure people have water, for God's sakes.
Well, and the other thing is too, that stuff isn't free. That the money has to come from somewhere. And and I want to add is you mentioned something that's very important. Like, he is one of many people, but they're actually doing it. They're not talking about it. They're not planning about it. They're not, the spokesperson. They're doing it. Like, hey, I'm not asking anybody's permission to do it. We're just doing it. And guess what? We're going to show up here at this time, this date, and to give out water. They're just doing it. And so I think that's just, Ryan is just such a great guy, and just a great, he's got a lot of energy behind him as well. Just a tremendous individual as well. I love that aspect. Rob, what do you got? What's in the hopper for Rob Garcia? What, obviously, other than continually promoting others, do good, the do-gooders out there, but what's in the hopper for Rob Garcia?
Over the next couple months, I'm really going to focus on breaking out into massive media, just to share my story, and not from a place of self-interest, but from a place of inspiring the world and teaching, especially veterans, showing them, hey, if I did it, you can do it, and really showing people that there's a better version of themselves that a lot of people can unlock, and it's not nearly as hard as they might think it is.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Rob, if I could ask you a couple unrelated random questions.
Sure.
If you were given a choice, what would you pick? Coffee or beer?
Coffee.
And what kind?
Scars and Stripes by Carrie Marie Beavers.
Nice. And if you vegetarian or meat?
Oh, devout meat eater.
And my last question for you, Rob, is, who is somebody that you look up to? Somebody that has inspired you? It can be more than one. I know you probably got quite a few, but, and it doesn't have to be Ty. I know that's at the top of your list.
Cheap shot, Dean.
I had to throw that in.
Good for you. Shows you're paying attention. Honestly, I would say the person I really look up to that I think is just done amazing things is Richard Kaufman, the comeback coach. And for anybody that doesn't know him, Kaufman went from like Soldier of the Year to a homeless drug addict living in his car, and then fixed his life, found the love of his life, started a family, went sober, and just now he's like an amazing ranked podcaster. And he runs some Facebook groups, and he just provides a voice for those veterans that need a voice, and a tremendous human being, selfless, and puts in a lot of hours helping others.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say. He's not only killing it on the podcast level, like some big name guests and just great content, but he's also legitimately helping veterans that were struggling as well. Yeah.
And he's, I feel like he really is the voice for veterans that maybe have fallen down a couple steps and kind of need to reinvent themselves and get back on the horse. And Rich is such a stellar example of a pillar of the community, and just his positive attitude, the way he celebrates his family, generous, selfless giving. Is what Rich Kaufman's known for. It's why he's like so admired in the vet community.
Well, I think I think that summarizes him up really well. I had the honor of interviewing him, and absolutely, we look forward to kicking out his episode. And it was just a really an honor, I should say, to be able to interview him. He was just really fun. He's down to earth and funny, and just as we say up here in the North, he was a hoot to interview. You betcha. Rob, where can they find you on the web?
They can find my main website at yournextlevelofsuccess.com, or they can reach out and read the magazine for free at shiftlifedesign.com.
Beautiful. And what platforms are you on, and where can they reach you?
Facebook and LinkedIn mainly. And if you just look up Rob the Warrior Strategist, my goofy face will pop up somewhere.
He's all over there, folks. And also, if you go out to his website, all his many media appearances, testimonials, working with Rob, bio, all that great stuff. And you can bug him right from there as well. Or reach out. And I know he's busy, but he'll get back to you. My friend, thank you so much for being a guest today. I know you're busy, but thank you so much for being on. And thanks for being a returning guest. I feel like, even though I love the time on radio, I feel that we couldn't really devote enough time to a proper interview. And so thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks, Dean. I really appreciate it. And it's an honor to be here.
Absolutely.